What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Show and Go podcast, where we bring you all of your MLB The Show news and opinions. I'm Balake, also known as Mr. Perfect, and I'm here with the check swing bandit himself, Ryan Jones, and the man who's nothing short of stellar, Anthony Steller-Harter. Sit back, get comfortable, play a couple Conquest games, and listen to the sweet, sweet sound of our takes.
All right, Francisco Lindor is now a New York Met. Carrasco going to the Mets as well. Blake, your thoughts on whether the Mets are contenders now?
I mean, they've improved a lot. They have improved a lot. I'm definitely going to actually want to watch the Mets this year, even when DeGrom's not pitching. But I don't know if they're contenders because the NL East is a really tough division right now. And Lindor has regressed a little bit offensively. I'm really interested to see how he performs in New York, because I think that'll decide what his market looks like. And if his market's not looking so great, but the Mets are still interested, then I see him taking their 10-year deal versus somebody else's 10-year deal.
Yeah, especially in a strong shortstop market coming up next year with Seager and Story also hitting the market.
It'd be interesting to see how the Mets are, assuming Syndergaard is back to pitching how well we know he can pitch.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's definitely a big contributor on that team. They have DeGrom and Stroman.
Oh, yeah, Stroman.
That was a big pickup for them to get him back this upcoming year. They have a solid rotation now between the four.
So what does your guys' NL East look like next year?
I have the Mets winning the division, I think. Unless the Nationals do something drastic. Like get a Chris Bryant, something like that.
I think the Braves are going to make a sneaky big move and that they're going to regain the top again next year.
I think it'll be a constant fight between the Braves and Mets. Now that you mentioned the Braves, I completely spaced that because the Braves are right there. They were in the NLCS. Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, they're sneaky good.
Yeah, I think the Braves are still the top team. Mets are going to have to prove themselves to me. They're kind of a place where careers go to die. I hope that doesn't happen with Lindor and Carrasco. I hope they can both bounce back. Depending on how the Nats fare this offseason, like Anthony said, will determine whether they're contenders. I mean, if they trade for Chris Bryant or something crazy like that, they're in a completely different place than they are right now because they kind of seem to be on the decline. And isn't Scherzer's contract up soon?
Yeah, after this year.
Yeah, so if he doesn't come back, then the Nationals look much weaker than they have the past couple of years.
With that being said, too, going into this year, they still have a solid rotation with Scherzer, Strauss, and Corbin, too.
Moving on to the next big baseball news of this offseason, Liam Hendricks, very sad, going to the White Sox. We have two A's fans on here. Hate to hear it, right, Anthony?
Yeah, my heart dropped when I saw the news. It's very sad. For what it's worth, because I'm always going to root for Liam after what he did in Oakland. I'm glad to see he's going to a team with a lot of upside because I wish him the best now, but it hurts to see him leave Oakland.
White Sox are a fun team to watch. They're definitely the favorite for the division, right, Blake?
Yeah, especially with Cleveland getting a lot worse. Cleveland is clearly bare minimum, and that's it. They are not building. It's amazing how many good players, like elite players, they've traded in the past couple of years, and they're still in such a weak division that it doesn't even matter. At least now the White Sox are gonna be contending. Like, they made the playoffs last year, got closed out by Liam, but they'll bounce back. You know, I would love to see them win the division over Cleveland. I'm over Cleveland for sure.
Oh, I agree. I'm over Cleveland too. I was just gonna ask, how long do the White Sox have Dallas Keuchel for?
I think it's like 16, 17 years.
New rule, you're literally not allowed to retire.
2 more years with a vesting third year that could be added onto it.
Okay. And then they obviously have Giolito's their ace. Was a stud in that first game against the A's in the wild card. Had a no-hitter through 7 innings.
Yeah, that was a hell of a performance.
So, yeah. White Sox have a hell of a future, honestly, especially with the Indians going downhill.
You mean the Cleveland baseball team?
Yes, my bad.
I was just going to ask what you guys thought of the number for Hendricks, because I think one of you brought up that that would be the biggest contract in A's history. I mean, does it even seem like the A's had a shot here or what? I mean,
It was a harsh reality that all A's fans knew was coming, but didn't want to accept it, and it just sucks seeing him leave, like I said.
That's fair. I thought maybe they had a shot. He's a reliever, so maybe he wouldn't cost that much. And then, what was it, $54 million? That's a big chunk of change for a reliever, but Liam's worth it.
Yeah, especially coming off American League reliever of the year, and was ranked by I forgot what it was, but like MLB #1 reliever going into 2021, and just the way he performed too in the playoffs, no shot that we're gonna keep him.
Yeah, moving on to more reliever talk. Blake Trinan, 2-year deal with the Dodgers re-upping, club option. Pedro Baez, 2 years to the Astros. Hansel Robles, 1 year, $2 million to the Twins. Any of these jump out at you guys?
Yeah, Trinan signing back with the Dodgers makes me think, what does Kenley Jansen's future with the Dodgers look like, do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely sketchy. They brought in Corey Knebel as well, so there's definitely some competition for the late inning roles.
Because Trinan had a good year with the Dodgers, especially in the postseason. He did very well.
Yeah, especially ever since Jansen lost that velocity, he just hasn't been the same pitcher. Definitely not as reliable. And the Dodgers know that. That's why they're building bullpen depth. Even if Jansen starts the season as a closer, they're ready to replace him at a moment's notice. Pedro Baez kind of stood out to me. His stats look really solid, kind of underrated. And the Astros just keep getting better, even after they're going to presumably lose George Springer.
And possibly Brantley.
It's interesting, though. You talk to most Dodgers fans, and they don't trust Pedro Baez at all. They hate when he comes into the game. They don't want him in high-leverage situations. So I definitely thought he was going to leave the Dodgers. I was surprised he got over $6 million per year in this market. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that, too, honestly. I was just going to make a remark saying, behind Kershaw, I'm pretty sure Pedro Baez is like the second longest tenured Dodger, too, before signing with the Astros.
Any George Springer predictions since we're on the Astros? A lot of people were saying the Mets. I don't know anymore. Maybe.
They said they wanted to make at least 2 big splashes in this offseason, and that would be the second one following Lindor. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets make that move. If the Mets make that move, I think I would put them ahead of the Braves, honestly.
Okay. And as they stand now, with Bauer and Springer still available, do you guys like the Padres offseason or the Mets offseason better?
Padres. I think they just completely launched their rotation from being in the lower tier, like maybe around 15 to 20 out of the 30 team range, to being in the top 5. That rotation is dominant, and they have multiple guys who can get a Cy Young.
Absolutely. Because like the Mets, they got a top 5 shortstop, obviously, but like their rotation didn't get better. They're just getting back. I mean, they did get better. I will say that, because they got Carrasco and re-signed Stroman, which a lot of people were already kind of hoping for. But like Syndergaard is already on the Mets. He's just hopefully healthy now. But I think the Padres definitely had a bigger offseason so far.
I agree. I think the Padres offseason is looking great so far.
Definitely.
Schwarber, 1 year, $10 million to the Nationals. Do you think that the Nationals have an idea if there's going to be a DH, or are they going to play him every day in the corner?
Me and Blake were actually talking about this the other day. I definitely think Schwarber signs with the National League team with like being 90% sure at least that there's going to be a league-wide DH. I don't see him signing this early to a National League team unless he knows there's going to be a DH.
Yeah, I kind of brought up the point that usually the MLB insiders, the Rosenthals, the Jeff Passons, have some sort of idea or inclination as to what's going to happen in the future. And from what they've been saying, it doesn't seem like they're super confident in a DH for 2021. So I'm wondering what's being said behind closed doors that made Kyle Schwarber confident enough to sign with an NL team. Maybe he doesn't care about the DH, and maybe the Nationals figure worst case scenario, he plays first or occasional outfield or something. But I would be interested to hear what's being said, because so far it doesn't seem like there's going to be a DH in 2021, but like Anthony said, it wouldn't make sense for him to sign without some sort of confidence. So
Also, do you guys prefer a league-wide DH?
yes.
Because we're all fans of the
Yes,
American League,
100%.
American League teams.
Yes.
I agree. I think there should be definitely a league-wide DH. I think there's more offense, just more fun to watch.
And isn't it weird that the NL is one of the only baseball leagues at any level that doesn't allow a DH? Like minor leagues, little league, travel ball, everything allows a DH at this point, except for the National League for the most part. And I just think that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It seems, again, behind the times almost. I think baseball's evolving, and they're trying to restrict it from evolving into something a little bit different.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's weird. I think definitely within the next few years we're going to see them implement it more to eventually become full-time DH in both leagues.
They're negotiating a new CBA after 2021, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think Ryan made that point that would be a good time to implement, or that would be a more realistic time for them to implement something as big of a change as like a DH.
Right.
But we'll see.
Some more sad news for A's fans. 2019 Gold Glove finalist Robbie Grossman is taking his talents elsewhere. 2 years, $10 million to the Tigers. I don't understand this deal. Tigers aren't getting a ton better with Robbie Grossman, and it just doesn't fit their competitive window. I guess veteran leadership, but it's Robbie Grossman.
It doesn't make sense, but I will say I'm absolutely devastated to see the 2019 Gold Glove finalists leave the Oakland Athletics.
I feel like the A's could have matched 2 years, $10 million, right? Like, I can't imagine the Tigers' offer being well above that. Like, why would Robbie Grossman take the Tigers there? I just don't see the incentive, but maybe they offered him a lot of playing time. I don't know.
The A's wouldn't match that for Robbie Grossman, who's not a full-time player anyways.
The A's wouldn't go above like $3 million. I'm being honest. I don't know how we're paying Steven Piscotty this much. He's getting like $12 million. That's big for the A's.
So what happens to Piscotty?
He has no trade value, so he's just stuck here.
Pretty much.
Some more news about our favorite teams that we're reporting on. Daniel Gossett signs a minor league deal with the Boston Red Sox, and Rusney Castillo is heading to the NPB, going to play for the Rakuten Eagles. I'm glad Rusney's getting a chance, Blake. You hate to see him toil in the minor leagues.
Yeah, you really do. As Section 10 always states, he's the pride of Pawtucket. You know, he was the minor league GOAT, and he'll be missed for sure. I really wish he would have panned out into something. So many Yasiel Puig comparisons, it was hard to get excited. And it's a shame that he's going to be playing for somebody else. But his contract just didn't really make sense to keep in the majors.
Didn't he live in Boston and then drive to Pawtucket like every day?
Yes. That did happen.
And Gossett, now your best pitcher in the majors. Most talented.
Yeah, dude. Cy Young Watch 2021. Gossett for sure. Sounds too much like Gossage for him to be bad at the game.
That's a good point.
Let's talk about doctoring baseballs. Did you guys hear about the Angels employee who was fired and alleged that so many pitchers in the game actually doctor baseballs, including big names, Max Scherzer, Garrett Cole? He's trying to bring down everybody with him. He's filed lawsuits. Blake, you know about this, so give your take on it.
Yeah, so I always think the doctoring baseballs is interesting because from what I can tell, most players and just people in the game don't have a problem with it for the most part. I think they're okay with the better control that most doctored baseballs present. I think, yes, it does add to your breaking ball, but I think the main argument that holds up is that if you're using it for control, like on a bad weather day or some sort of out-of-the-box situation, then it's okay. I think adding spin rate to your curveball, that might make players a little bit more angry. But as far as the legitimacy of this story, I think, although you do have to take it with a grain of salt, it seems plausible. I feel like every year in the playoffs, there's a video or a picture of some weird substance in some pitcher's glove. Like they did it with Lester. They did it with Garrett Cole on his hat. They've done it with a lot of big name pitchers, and nothing ever comes out of it, which means to me either it's completely fabricated, which by the videos and pictures it doesn't seem like it is, or nobody cares, you know? So at the end of the day, it is technically cheating. So I understand why that would be super frustrating. But if the players themselves don't care, I'm wondering why we should, you know? What do you guys think?
Well, apparently I've been living under a rock because I haven't heard about this whatsoever. So, Ryan, go ahead and give your take, because this is brand news to me. I'm shocked hearing all this right now.
Yeah, it's pretty big breaking news. It might be the biggest cover-up since, I don't know, the video replay scandal that happened a few years ago. Or it came out recently, but it happened a few years ago. But they were experimenting with sticky balls, which they use in the KBO. They have like a sticky, I don't know, covering over it, but they're trying to figure out how to get the drag coefficient to not change too much from the balls they're using now. But overall, I've heard a lot of pitchers say that the balls are too slippery right now, and I think something needs to be done to change the rules about the balls, or we need to change the balls themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safety issue, honestly, if pitchers don't know where the ball is going.
Exactly. If the players don't have a problem with it, why not just expand the list of allowed substances? Like, because we have rosin and... Actually, that's kind of it, isn't it? Just rosin on the mound?
Yeah.
So I feel like if you can use pine tar to hold onto your bat better, as long as it's not doing anything crazy, why not let people use some pine tar on the mound? I feel like, again, I would have a problem with this, but the players don't. So I just don't really. I think if you had people vote on it, it'd be fine, you know? I just think if they expand the list of allowed substances for pitchers, it could solve that problem. Or like Ryan said, just alter the ball a little bit. They change the ball all the time. I mean, people were freaking out about the juiced ball as if they don't change it every year, you know? So I think alter the ball a little bit, and it's just as good of a solution. And at least it's controlled by MLB at that point, where every person's still using the same ball, but now it's a little bit easier to control, and it's no longer a safety issue for the most part, especially when guys are consistently hitting triple digits.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey Kluber held a showcase recently. 25 of the 30 teams showed up. Also, Steve Cishek and Anthony Swarzak pitched also. They're part of the same agency, but Kluber was the main one. Where do you guys think he lands? I think San Diego is definitely a possibility.
I could see that too. That's a good point, especially with what's his name being injured, probably not pitching. Clev, thank you. Probably not going to be pitching at all in 2021, right? That'd be a big pickup for San Diego, honestly, because he'd be like, what, a pretty damn good fourth starter in a rotation?
I think that would be a good landing spot. He was actually drafted by the Padres, and I think he needs to go somewhere where he's not the premier pitcher and he's not depended on for all of that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really good spot to see Kluber.
The name I keep hearing, and of course I'm biased, is the Red Sox. Because if I'm not mistaken, Kluber does live in Massachusetts, and the Red Sox starting rotation is a graveyard at this point. So I think he would bolster a rotation I doubt the Red Sox are competing this year. I keep hearing rumors that they're going to try and make a big move. And their version of a big move might not be Padres Mets level this offseason, but if they're willing to compete and they're going to drop off a guy like Andrew Benintendi, replace him, start Verdugo every day, sign Corey Kluber, there's some moves they could make that could make them a competitive team, especially if the Rays and Yankees remain stagnant. I think the Red Sox could make a move there, but like Ryan said, then he becomes the premier pitcher. And is at Corey Kluber's age, is that really where he's trending? Maybe not. The velo's dropping off a little bit. But if he can stay healthy, I think he'd definitely bolster a Red Sox rotation. I mean, Carabas keeps talking about this. The Red Sox are interested in every free agent ever available. They're just always interested. But like, do they make offers? What are their offers compared to other people? Are they ever actually going to sign anybody? We might not ever know. I don't know. They were interested in Liam for some reason. They've been interested in everybody so far, and they're just not pulling the trigger. So I think this Corey Kluber news might be, or these Corey Kluber rumors might be more of that. Is there? Oh, they're checking in on him. Like, what's his price looking like? And then, nah, not worth it. I mean, with Chaim Bloom, we're gonna have a completely different outlook as far as signing free agents goes compared to Dombrowski. So we'll see where Corey Kluber lands, but don't let Boston slip from your mind.
I don't see him going to Boston, if I'm going to be honest. Blake, I'm sorry. Boston is not competing this year with the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Rays. It's going to be a race for fourth place for the Red Sox with the Orioles, but I really think he's going to sign to a team where he's not going to be an ace or maybe not even a number 2. And like Ryan said, I think a place like the Padres is a really good landing spot at this point in Kluber's career.
Maybe see him sign with the Dodgers. I feel like that would be interesting. Just a dark horse, kind of like they did with Greinke, where he's a bit older and he just rejuvenates his career. Coming out today as we record this, Theo Epstein was hired to be a consultant for the MLB, and Mark Shapiro, president, I think, of the Blue Jays, gets a 5-year extension.
Yeah, I just saw the Theo Epstein consultant for the MLB. I saw him say earlier, or like later in 2020, that he said he wanted to be away from baseball for a year. I didn't see that happening, so I'm not surprised by this move at all.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's working for MLB now. I definitely thought he was going to go to a team.
I mean, I can still see him going to a team in his future, but I think for now, where he is, I can see him working with the MLB for a few years, and I definitely see him going to work for a team again sometime in the future.
Yeah, he's definitely just waiting for the right opportunity where he has the most control and he wants to be there. So he's at this point in his career where he can do whatever he wants, breaking those 2 curses.
Love Theo.
One last thing before we move on. I want each of you to name one team that needs to make some moves, needs to wake up this offseason and smell the roses, see who they need to sign.
First team, the Minnesota Twins. The White Sox got better with Liam, and that door opened with the Indians definitely getting worse. I think the Twins definitely need to make some moves to try and make sure that they prove that they're the team to beat still in that division. And number 2, my bias here, the Oakland A's. They need to make some sort of move. They're not going to make a blockbuster move. We all know the Oakland A's. They're not going to make some crazy big signing or some crazy big trade, but just a couple small moves that make the team overall a little bit better to try and dethrone the Astros. They won the division, but the Astros handily beat us in the ALDS. So a few moves for the A's I definitely think would be big.
I would probably go with the Tampa Bay Rays. I feel like coming off of a World Series appearance, they're being very stagnant, very Rays-like. And it would have been cool to see them make a move to try and compete. But it seems like they wanted to trade Snell at maybe the peak of his value, which I understand. So maybe they're not giving up per se. But I would like to see them make some, like, even if it's the Rays type of like small moves that give them depth and pays off in the long run, something like that. I would like to see the Rays still in the playoffs. They had such a cool run last year, such a cool team with Glasnow and Arozarena. So hopefully they can do something to stay in the mix, because they can take the AL East from the Yankees. Like it is not the Yankees at this point in this, or at this point in the offseason. So it's up for grab for either of them.
For my team to wake up, I think the Cincinnati Reds need to wake up and see that the Cubs are cutting costs. The Cardinals are cutting costs. They didn't pick up Wong's option. Cincinnati has that division if they just make a few moves. From the rumors I've heard, they're sellers, which I don't make any sense of when they're losing Bauer, so they have that money coming off the payroll. They have a good core. They just need to expand upon that.
Actually, speaking of the Reds, that could be another really interesting landing spot for a guy like Corey Kluber. He'd be a 3-4 pitcher behind Castillo and Sonny Gray. I think that'd be a very interesting pickup for the Reds, especially after pretty much losing Bauer.
I like Kluber to the Reds a lot more than the Padres. I feel like the Padres have improved their rotation enough. They have a lot of depth, and I think the Reds is much more likely. I really like that pick, actually. I think him on the Reds just solidifies their rotation after Bauer presumably will leave. And that's another team that I liked to watch in the playoffs last year. It was cool seeing them against the Braves. That was such a good series. The pitching of that series was on another level compared to the rest of the playoff matchups that year. So I would love to see the Reds still in it next year. And like Ryan said, the NL Central is trash. I mean, both Central divisions are just dumping players. And it's like, somebody please take the opportunity that you have here. Somebody take the division without any problem. Like, anybody could step up and do it right now. So I don't see why you wouldn't.
Maybe that's why the Tigers signed Robbie Grossman. They thought he was the final piece to put them over the edge.
But yeah, Blake, like you said, the door is wide open for both those divisions. A team in either of the Central divisions need to just make a big move and take a big step to be able to secure the division. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's move on to some guys who can make some impacts. I'm going to list some trade candidates, and you guys tell me where they end up best. Let's start with Nolan Arenado if he gets moved with that massive contract.
The only two teams I could see picking up that kind of a contract would be the Dodgers or the Yankees, if I'm going to be honest.
It seems like Arenado is the name that, like Anthony said, is really only a Yankees-Dodgers move. The contract's huge. His offense, even at Coors, has been a little bit questionable. The defense, of course, is always there. So with Arenado, you know what you're getting, and you're getting an elite third baseman for sure. But for a team like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they might be wanting more offensive impact, especially since he'd be leaving Coors, which really isn't that big of a deal in my opinion. But to some people, that makes a really big difference. And I don't see Arenado being moved, if I'm being honest. But maybe if Story signs, then they just dump him.
Yeah, how about his teammate, Trevor Story? Could be a 1-year rental. I was thinking dark horse, maybe the A's. Ooh, I kind of like that. Bridging the gap between Simeon and the farm system, seeing if they could swing a big deal. I don't know. Anthony?
I would love seeing Trevor Story in the green and gold. That would be, I mean, I'm a Trevor Story fan, so him coming to the A's would be awesome. That combo of Story, Olsen, and Chapman and Sean Murphy, that'd be a fun team to watch.
Careful, guys. Don't get your hopes up. Let's just relax. Let's just calm down. Story's awesome. Story's awesome, but I feel like he's gonna get a big deal.
Time out, Blake. This is coming from the guy that thinks the Red Sox are gonna sign each and every possible free agent. This is a Jared Carrabis 2.0, if you will.
I said they're not going to sign every free agent. I did not say they were going to.
You said watch for Kluber to the Red Sox. I would bet money that will not happen. I would bet money Kluber at this point in his career does not go to the Red Sox.
But you think Story to the A's?
More likely than Kluber to the Red Sox.
No. Think about it. The A's have the prospect capital to trade for him. They would be fine with a 1-year deal. Maybe the Rockies even eat some of the money to get a better prospect return. They need a shortstop. Name a better fit for Trevor Story than the A's. Go.
I was mistaken. I thought you were saying they were going to sign him as a free agent.
No.
No. I'm talking about a 1-year rental. I don't think they can re-sign him.
Then I agree. Okay, all right. I was like, guys, like what? I was like, wait, what? No. Okay, then yes. No, Story, that would make sense, especially if Semien is gone. Which I don't know. I feel like. Okay, I'll ask this question after. But Then yes, okay, story to the A's for a 1-year rental would make sense. Especially if the Astros lose Springer, and the Astros to me aren't that threatening of a team. I think the A's have that confidence. They can beat out the Astros. Why not add Trevor Story or another starting pitcher even? I feel like they could use some pitching depth.
You pissed me off with saying that Story isn't going to the A's, so I'm going to say this. Andrew Benintendi is going to be traded within this weekend, and it's probably going to be by the time that we release this. Where do you think he goes? I think the A's are, again, an obvious landing spot with losing Robbie Grossman, their everyday left fielder.
Yeah, I would love if the A's took a flyer on Benintendi. I watch a lot of A's games, obviously, because pretty much everybody in my life that I'm not related to is an A's fan. So that would be really cool to see him in a team that I like. I just think that Benny's just been sort of a disappointment on offense, and that makes him a really easy person to trade for at this point. He's struggled against lefties, which wasn't expected of him. They were saying that he could hit lefties just as well as righties when he was coming up, and that just hasn't been the case. So if I'm the A's, that's a steal, because what are you really going to have to give up for him, honestly? I feel like his stats don't justify very much. If we're talking about hair, though, he's got some of the best hair in the league. So I don't know how, the A's obviously aren't the Yankees. They're very open to different hair and beards. So I feel like they're definitely going to be interested. That's for sure.
Who knows? AJ Puck did cut his golden locks, so who knows?
That's so disappointing. That's tragic. That's a waste. I mean, great flow, and he just took shears to it like he was a sheep. It was a disappointment.
He does not have a great flow. I don't know what you're talking about. It is long.
No, it's
straight.
It's perfectly straight. It's perfectly straight.
It looks greasy.
He needs to take tips from Weems. Like, Weems has the flow going. Puck is, that is rough. Some starters who might get traded: Matthew Boyd, John Gray, Joe Musgrove. The Red Sox are in on everybody, Blake. Do you think they could pick any of these guys up?
A trade is definitely more likely with Chaim Bloom, because I don't think he's really, I don't really think he's thinking big free agent move necessarily. I don't know, man. I mean, like Anthony said, the AL East is like a race between the Yankees and the Rays, and then the Blue Jays are like, their young core is amazing. So like I said, let me clarify. They're going to check in on every person that's available and then not make a move. So, in my opinion, I mean, think about how many good, maybe even not even good, just solid MLB level relievers that have signed this offseason for a pretty reasonable price. Think about that. And the Red Sox didn't sign a single one. And they had one of the worst I think the worst, maybe next to the Phillies. Yeah, so they had probably the second worst bullpen in the majors, and they lost out on so many solid MLB level relievers. So if they're not making a move there where it's relatively cheap, I don't know why they would make a move for a starter at this point.
The Phillies were so bad, their bullpen was so bad, that they ended up trading with the Red Sox for Brandon Workman. They traded with the second worst bullpen to make their bullpen better. It's just...
And Workman and Heath Hembree both sucked for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Like, it made them worse. I remember that happening, and I was like, what the hell are the Phillies thinking? Like, were they not watching them play this year? Like, again, I love Workman. Like, I've seen him pitch in real life. He's been a great member of the team. Same with Matt Barnes. They've been great, but they're just not elite level relievers. Like, they're not consistent enough, in my opinion. I think they have on-off years, and they're both very similar pitchers, high fastballs, curveballs in the dirt. They're predictable. I mean, they have two pitches, and the hitters are going to sit on one of them, and that just from a fan's perspective, that gets frustrating after a while. And when you don't really have the stats to back it up, I don't know. I hope Pivetta works out for the Red Sox, though. He's interesting for sure.
Yeah, he was definitely a sleeper going into 2018 or 19 for a lot of people. They saw some potential in him. Let's start a new segment, guys. We're going to do top 10 right now. So we're starting out with catcher this week. I'm going to run down my list. You guys give me critiques, and then we'll do the same for you. I have Real Muto at 1. Yasmani Randall at 2. Will Smith, the catcher, not the reliever, at 3. Salvador Perez at 4. Wilson Contreras at 5. Sean Murphy at 6. No bias. James McCann at 7. Austin Nola at 8. Travis d'Arnaud at 9. And Christian Vasquez at 10. Honorable mention to Mitch Garver.
I'm surprised no Mitch Garver in top 10.
He had 1 year where he was a platoon player / part-time player. He did hit amazing, but his defense isn't great, and it's hard to put him in the top 10.
I forgot Vasquez existed. Didn't even come to my mind when I thought of good catchers.
You mean the longest tenured current Red Sox player, Blake?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's hear your top 10, man.
So let's just run through it. I mean, Real Muto's the best catcher in baseball, undisputed. Honestly, I really like Yasmani and Salvador. I think that would probably be my 2 and 3. I hope Yasmani bounces back a little bit. Slowest card in MLB The Show. Can we pick up the sprint speed, Yasmani, and then I'll use you in MLB The Show? That would be a huge favor to all of us over here. Wilson Contreras is probably my 4. I like Contreras a lot. He's been on the Cubs for a while, and since catcher's not very deep, I think Yasmani's going to be my 4. I really like Will Smith, watching him in the playoffs. I really hope Will Smith has a great offensive season. I think he might be my favorite catcher to watch for next year. I really like Will Smith. Yeah, Darno's up there. I think that's my number 6 would be Darno. What do you guys think of Austin Nola? I really haven't heard a lot.
I had him on fantasy, which I won, by the way. He rakes. I like Austin Nola quite a bit, honestly.
Is he the one with the positional flexibility, like he can play other positions outside of catcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do like Austin Nola from what I've heard. I just haven't watched him play very often. James McCann going to the Mets, that'll be an interesting landing spot because I know everybody was saying Real Muto was going to go to the Mets. But with them picking up James McCann and a revitalized Mets team, he'd probably be next on my list. Vasquez, love the defense, love the arm. The bat really hasn't come around as far as, I think the power has a little bit, but with catchers being not very deep, again, Vasquez makes the top 10. I really like Mitch Garver as well. I think the defense, again, doesn't really do it. And the consistency also isn't there. Sean Murphy is probably my second favorite catcher to watch next year with Will Smith. I would love to see both of them perform really well. I would love to see catcher just become a deep position. I don't know. It's boring to watch some no-name at catcher. It's really cool to see somebody like Buster Posey for years with the Giants. It's cool to see players like that, help out a pitching staff, help them improve. And to be good on the other side of offense, which is something that Will Smith and Sean Murphy and Mitch Garver all offer. Gary Sanchez can retire for all I care. Hang him up, dude. His hitting has been atrocious last year. Like, he's going to run into a homer, of course, like everybody. But my God, was he... I mean, Yankees fans turned on him. They were so mad at him. And I'm like, you guys were sucking his you-know-what for a very long time. Gary Sanchez is not the move next year. I love his swing in MLB The Show, sure, but they already have good Gary Sanchez cards, so let's move on from him.
Let's not move on from Gary Sanchez for 2 seconds. It is a cycle with Yankees fans and Gary Sanchez. It's, hey, he might have a good year, he starts slumping, we fucking hate him, get rid of him. It's an off year, let's wait till next year. And it's just a constant cycle with Gary Sanchez. But anyways... So I got my list ready. Number 1, obviously, Yadier Molina. Just kidding. Obviously, I got Real Muto, then Yasmani, Will Smith, Salvi, Wilson Contreras, Austin Nola, Travis d'Arnaud, Sean Murphy at 8, Mccann at 9, Garver at 10, and Christian Vasquez at 11. For me, it's really close between Garver and Vasquez, but I think I would pick Garver over Vasquez right now. I think he had an off year. His potential is still there, but we'll see.
I completely agree with Anthony's top 10. I like that a lot. Mine was pretty all over the place. Yeah, like I said, boys, Will Smith and Sean Murphy are going to be... I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for those guys.
Will Smith is very fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think he's kind of been declining a little bit over the years. You know, started out as a rapper, and now he's an actor. And now he's a baseball player. Can we pick a career, buddy?
He's 2 baseball players, actually.
Yeah, he plays for 2 teams. How did they let that slide?
Anthony, you have some trivia for us. I'm ready. I'm ready to ace it.
Yeah, I got you guys. Okay. Do you guys know what stadium in the MLB was the last to implement lights for night games?
Wrigley?
Yes, sir. Was that too easy of one?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. I might just be a nerd. Blake, did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I was going to guess one of the really old stadiums.
My trivia question is, what current team has the lowest all-time win percentage? So, in the history of their team, they've been the worst.
Mariners.
No, the Mariners are 3rd lowest.
Oh, so that was a decent guess.
Yeah, Mariners is a...
Yeah, it was. I'll give you 5 guesses each. So that's 1 for Anthony.
Can I guess the Baltimore Orioles?
It's not the Orioles, no.
I'm going to go with the Pirates.
Not the Pirates. No, surprisingly not. They were pretty good in the 70s.
Kansas City Royals.
No, that's a good guess as well. They're not in the bottom 3, but they're pretty low down there.
You know what? I'm not going to let recency bias fuck up my guess. I'm going to say the San Diego Padres.
It is the San Diego Padres at a .464 winning percentage.
Wow. Yeah, they were...
That may change.
Really bad in recent years.
Yeah. Next lowest is Miami at only 1.001 percentage higher. So it could be passed up very soon.
Miami was my next guess.
But I think we're going to wrap it up there. Any last notes?
No, I hope the offseason just speeds up a little bit. We're getting into late January here in a bit, and I want to see some more big moves, honestly.
Soon after.
Yankees are making moves this offseason, bringing in Corey Kluber and DJ LeMahieu back. What do you guys think of LeMahieu? I think he kind of got shorted on the money-wise.
I don't know, man. I feel like people were saying that he was getting he was taking a discount to stay with the Yankees. So if that's where he wants to be, that's where he wants to be, man. He wants to contend.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he's being a little underpaid for what he's worth. But I feel like he signs that deal wanting to contend, wanting to get that ring. That's my guess. Because he could have gone to the Blue Jays for more money, right? Because I heard the Blue Jays offered more than what the Yankees offered.
Yeah, I definitely could have seen them bringing in LeMahieu, especially stealing him from a division rival. But good move for the Yankees to bring him back. Also, shoring up their rotation with Corey Kluber. I know we talked earlier in this podcast about him going to the Padres potentially, but I think the Yankees are another good fit. Blake, you wanted him to go to the Red Sox. Does this hurt?
It doesn't hurt. My expectations are really low for the Red Sox right now. It does scare me though. I mean, the Yankees starting rotation was maybe their one thing that wasn't too great last year, outside of Cole, of course. Now they got depth, and they still have Cole, and bullpen looks good. Lineup is amazing. So, I mean, I think they're even after the Rays won last year, I think they're still the division favorites at this point. I don't want to call the Rays the division favorites at this point because I don't think they've gotten any better. They traded Snell and haven't really done much else besides that. So I think the Yankees are the division favorites, especially after adding Kluber. That's scary. It's almost as scary as clean-shaven Kluber.
I agree with Blake. I think the Yankees got better and the Rays haven't done anything to get better. I think the Yankees are definitely the division favorites. And honestly, I was a little surprised by the move. After we talked during the last recording, I thought Kluber could sign with a team like with the Padres, or I really like the idea of him signing with the Reds, with what the Reds need right now. But it is what it is, and the Yankees just got a whole lot better, honestly.
It is only a 1-year deal, so if he does establish himself to be healthy again, he could go and look for a 4 or 5-year deal, given that his health is better this upcoming year. Hopefully he does well.
Hopefully he doesn't get the big city yips like Sonny Gray when he went to the Yankees.
Yeah, at least this one's Kluber's choice, though. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sonny Gray just knew he didn't want to pitch for the Yankees, and he was like, I'm not fucking doing it. Like, I'm just going to shit the bed, and when I get traded to a different team, I'll be back to normal, you know? I respect him for that. I respect him. Red Sox re-signed Martin Perez. That's a huge pickup, just basically doubled the effectiveness of our rotation.
So looking at the Red Sox rotation, you're splitting up the innings. You're seeing who can get you through that full season. Probably switching off every other day, like Gossett pitches on even days and then Martin Perez on odd days, right?
Right, and then you'll probably spot start Tanner Houck from time to time, but I heard the AAA team is looking not as great this year, so they want to bring him back down. That way he can be the ace of the AAA team. So, you know, and that takes precedent over the major league team. Well, a lot of people don't know that because you have to establish the prospect rankings, which then leads to championship titles, as everybody knows. So that's a little bit more important. And we can't have all the talent at the top. You have to spread it out evenly throughout the different organizations. And minor league baseball is kind of crumbling. Like lots of teams, we just brought it up. An Astros minor league team is suing the Astros for disaffiliating. A Yankees minor league team earlier is suing for disaffiliation. So there's never been a better time to get a minor league championship than right now. So if they play.
Yeah, I mean, two great organizations that are completely flawless, and I would hate to see them lose those lawsuits.
I believe someone in this party redeemed channel points for a shout out on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, big shout out to Ash Baseball 16. He's been a mod in my chat for pretty much since forever. And he's great. He's great. Shout out to Ryan for gifting a sub to Tom Dog when he didn't have to. That was great. We made a bet that I would take the worst BR team of all time to 4 wins, and I came up 1 short. And Ryan made a classy move. Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support on Twitch. It's been really unexpected, and we've been loving it, and we definitely want to keep the streams coming. We'll be streaming like 3 to 4 times a week once school starts, so hopefully everybody can tune in. And yeah, like Anthony said, make sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram. That's where we're most active, and we also have a Discord. So
we'd also like to shout out all the legends out there: Jickleton, Blake Snell, Tom Dog. I'm not flat. I'm not fat. I'm fluffy, I think is his full username. And you can redeem for a shout out too if you just hop in the chat, just stay active. 5,000 channel points and we got you. I'll say your name.
All right, everybody, that is going to do it from us at the Show and Go podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to the people supporting us on Twitch and Twitter and all of our other social media. We definitely couldn't do it without you guys. Our Twitch is Show and Go podcast, and my personal Twitch is Balake34. It's BALAKE34. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and all of our other social medias at Show and Go Pod. That's at Show, the letter N, Go Pod. Finally, leave a subscription or follow and give us an honest rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks, everybody.